Today on CityCast Pittsburgh. Can you believe it has been 4 years since the pandemic started? We're taking stock on our recovery, plus the state of family leave here in Pittsburgh. And if you're planning to see a show out at Star Lake this summer, there is a wacky new way to get there. It's March 15th, the Friday News Roundup. I'm Megan Harris, and here's what Pittsburgh's talking about. I'm with CityCast Francesca Dabecco. Good morning.
Good morning.
And one of our favorite voices about town, Natalie Bencivenga, who also has a Saturday show on KDKA radio. There's so many fun places to find you, Natalie.
Yes.
Fun, too many, however you want to look at it. No,
You stay busy.
Yes, I am busy, but I'm never too busy to be with you wonderful women here at CityCast Pittsburgh. And if people want to check out the KDKA radio show, they can go to 100.1 FM and AM 1020 KDKA. It also streams on kdkaradio.com and on the Odyssey app, and you can play it back if you can't tune in live. So I'm super excited to be here, you guys. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, definitely go check it out. We've been lucky enough to appear on your show, so glad to have you here with us too. It's always a blast.
Mm-hmm. And of course, Natalie is also a CityCast contributor. Also very fun. Before we jump in today, a devoted Hey Pittsburgh newsletter reader actually sent me a holiday trivia question. Francesca, I actually hid it from you so you wouldn't receive it.
Okay.
Are yins ready to play?
Yes.
Let's do it.
Okay, so the annual St. Patrick's Day Parade in Pittsburgh is tomorrow, Saturday, March 16th. The last time the parade was officially canceled was March 2020, of course, the pandemic. That was the earliest days. Prior to that, when was the most recent year that the parade was canceled?
Please give me choices.
Yeah, multiple choice.
I'm terrible at trivia, I got to be honest.
Okay, yins, play along with us. A, 1936, because of the flood. B, the St. Patrick's Day blizzard of 1993. We're also at the anniversary of that huge blizzard we had in 93.
Yeah.
C, the snowstorm of 1956. Or D, it was never officially canceled prior to the pandemic. So 36, 93, 56, or never.
You know, I want to go with the one in the 90s because I think I remember that year, and it was like snow up to your eyeballs, but...
Oh, it was incredible. I didn't even live here, but I still, there were T-shirts made where I lived. I survived the blizzard in 1993.
Yes. And while I feel like the grit of Pittsburghers would be like, no, we're still going out and drinking all day. We're not officially canceling this. I'm going to go with 93.
Francesca, you were not alive for any of these options.
No.
What do you think? Final answer, 36, 93, 56, or never?
You know, I heard about the 93 blizzard a lot from my family. Yeah, I'm going to double tap Natalie's answer and say the 93 blizzard.
Okay, so you both said B, the blizzard of 93. The actual answer is C, the snowstorm of 1956. But so there was a pending snowstorm and the city decided to officially cancel. But the organizers absolutely refused to be deterred and marched anyway, despite 9 inches of snow on the ground. The police chief at the time, Lawrence Maloney, refused to enforce it. And he actually joined the marchers. There were 200 plus marchers or floats and things going through downtown despite all that snow. Isn't that amazing?
Oh,
that is Pittsburgh.
Some extra caveats there. The 36 flood brought water 21 feet up into downtown. It would have been washed out. However, the parade was on a bit of a hiatus at the time. There was no parade to cancel. And then the 1993 one went on as scheduled, despite it being the worst snowstorm at that point in over 100 years. They got 23 inches in 1993. So yeah, the only official cancellation prior to the pandemic was 56, and the marchers ignored it anyway.
I'm looking up some photos from the 93 blizzard right now just to see. Oh my gosh, is this? Wait, no, I actually see they're doing the St. Patrick's Day. Let me send Let me send this link to you. Hold on.
Oh my gosh, look at this. What a time capsule. You've got folks in sweaters and full, it looks like galoshes in the background there. I would bust my butt if I had to walk in this.
Yeah, we'll link it in the show notes. It's a Pittsburgh Magazine article. The Storm of the Century, it's called.
I kind of remember this. This is like bringing me way back. Wow, this is disturbing and exciting all at once to see those photos.
Yeah. Many thanks to our listener, Kevin G. So for most of us in Pittsburgh, of course, this does mark the 4th anniversary birthday. I'm never sure how to do that of the COVID-19 pandemic. I don't know. Let's start off with a nostalgia, I guess. Do yins remember where you were when it started? Or I guess when everyone was sent home? That's what this week is the anniversary of.
Yeah, I was still working at the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette as the scene editor. And the day before it shut down, everything shut down, we were actually filming on site for the Allies Ball preview event. And I was dressed in head to toe, like vintage from Eons, Richard Parsakian, shout out. I looked crazy awesome. I was wearing a corset and like leather pants. It was a whole vibe. And I hear from people, because it just feels surreal, right? I'm in this surreal space doing this absurd thing. And then I'm hearing, oh, this event, I don't even know if we're going to end up having it. And we were all like, wait, what? And they were like, well, let's just film it and then we'll see what happens. And I remember we did film it. And then the next day we were told everything shut down. And so we shelved the whole thing. And I remember thinking like, oh, okay, this is going to be a really weird couple of weeks.
Right.
I was surprised, and I think I had forgotten maybe that the official actual start date here in the U.S. was January 20th, 2020.
What?
Yeah. So like we weren't sent home. Like the
No.
whole world didn't shut down until March 12th, 13th, depending on your business. But yeah, January 20th was the official start. And of course, that's just when it was like lab registered here in the U.S. in Washington State, actually.
Yeah.
Wow. It is wild to reflect on that. And I hate to make light of the scenario because it's truly not funny. But Natalie, that outfit never got to see the light of day.
Well, I did take one photo for my Instagram. So
Okay,
there is a
good.
picture of me. And I'm holding like a riding crop. Like you guys,
Wow,
this video
that
was
really was
set
some
up to be special. And
specific energy going into the
was
shutdown.
some real boss energy happening. I blame Richard for all of it. Love you, Richard. Love him. He's like, here, wear this feathered hat and carry this riding crop. I was like, on it.
I was in China when it started.
Oh,
but,
my goodness.
Because the nation is enormous, I was 1,000 miles away from Wuhan. But I remember seeing the first news reports of it while I was waiting for a plane in Japan.
Wow.
Which is kind of wild. Like just seeing like it was what I now know to be like clip art of like little germs. But like at the time, that was sort of a brand new concept.
And to think you could have ended up stuck over there.
Oh my
Yeah, I think
goodness.
that didn't really start becoming a thing for a few weeks after, but it still made me feel really like icky when I got home because nobody knew anything, and it was like, oh gosh, like should I be worried? I worked at WESA at the time, and when we shut down, like we all went in the next day because we're reporters and worked an 18-hour shift doing round-the-clock coverage. We had no idea that this was about to be a marathon, not a sprint.
Wow.
I'm into that.
Yeah, I had already been sort of home working remotely. I was freelancing at the time. I worked with the All Abilities Media Project. If you don't know about it, it focuses on stories focused on people with disabilities and also teaching people with disabilities journalism skills so that they can share their stories. And we actually started a podcast right after everything shut down. And it was sort of this real time, like time capsule now that we can look back on of, the most vulnerable community responding to what it's been like for them with everything shut down and navigating that. So it feels like a lifetime ago. I'm lucky that I was like home and safe and everything, but being in that community at that time was really, really important and helping to elevate those stories too. So, but here we are 4 years later.
Mentally, physically, spiritually evolved.
Yeah.
Maybe some of us have.
Yeah.
I don't know, guys. I have a lot of thoughts on this whole 4 years situation.
Well, yeah. I mean, and that's kind of why I wanted to talk about it is so, the public health emergency piece of all this lifted last May 2023, which is why we thought it might be a good idea to remind folks, at least briefly, where Allegheny County actually is, because I feel like the data is just not being talked about the way it used to be. And fun fact, I feel like people forget this. We don't actually have a county health department director right now.
Nope.
We're waiting for an appointment. And we don't technically have a state one either. The state poached ours last year, and then she was never confirmed. So she's still the acting state health department director.
This is a mess.
I know. So, but we wanted to share a little bit about where we stand. So right now, according to the county dashboard, which is still being updated, there are about 1,600 cases in Allegheny County and about 100 hospitalizations, according to the New York Times. They have one of the best dashboards for this I have seen nationwide. I don't know if y'all have checked it out. I've got it linked here. Our models look pretty similar to this time last year. People are still getting sick. It's just less than it was in 2020, 2021, 2022. I say that with a sore throat myself. I've tested negative all week, but my household went down with COVID. So it is still very much a real thing.
Yeah. And top of mind, my partner is a nurse, and he told me that someone came in for an appointment, even though they were confirmed to have COVID. And it just kind of speaks to people are taking it a little less seriously. They couldn't send them home. They were already there. And it's just there's just a different sort of approach to it now. But the latest dominant variant going around is the JN1. It's causes similarly severe infections as previous strains, but the vaccine still works the same in protecting you against this. So reminder to head to your local Rite Aid, CVS, Giant Eagle, your PCP, wherever, to get your booster shot.
Yeah, the vaccination rate here kind of astonished me. I don't know if this would surprise y'all too. This is also according to the New York Times. It said 76% of people in Allegheny County got the first round of the vaccine when it was available. So Pfizer, Moderna, way back when. But only 24% of people here in Allegheny County got the booster, the most recent booster. What? It's available. Why wouldn't you get it?
So there is just a lot of misinformation going around concerning what COVID is and what it's doing to the body. And because people are having somewhat milder cases of it, they think it's not a problem. But the acute infection from COVID isn't even where my fears are resting. With long COVID, we have millions and millions of people being disabled by long COVID. What people don't understand is COVID is a vascular disease, and it can attach itself to really any or all organ systems. And that's why you're seeing so many issues being flooded into our healthcare system, which is already on the brink of collapse, let's be real. And I thought that COVID, like a naive fool, I thought COVID would help push our healthcare system into a better place where we recognized the need for collective care, where we really took care of each other and those that are more vulnerable to severe illness or death. And even though we've seen less people die, I think it's because, and everything that I've been reading, it's because the most vulnerable are already dead. And I don't think people want to acknowledge this, that we've lost over 1 million people and millions more are isolated and they've left the workforce, not by choice, but because they can no longer work. We have this idea that reinfections don't impact you. They do. Every single reinfection is a chance you will end up debilitated with long COVID. The vaccine does not foolproof give you immunity. What it does is it prevents severe illness and hospitalization, but you can still contract it and you can still pass it to people. So we want to make sure that we're putting out the most up-to-date information and understand that there are no real treatments yet for long COVID. And the treatments that are being developed could be months or years out. There's a lot of frustration, and people like myself who've been COVID cautious and masking this whole time are just continually being gaslit by this message that we should just get over this. There is no reason that we should accept mass death or normalize mass disabilization. And the reality is these things are all linked to other major woes in our society, like affordable healthcare, or free healthcare, paid leave, which we're going to talk about, the idea of childcare, affordable housing, costs of food, all of this. If you end up sick with COVID and leave the workforce, there are no safety nets for you.
Hey, Pittsburgh. Behind those stately red doors on Bingham Street, the brilliant minds at Pittsburgh's City Theater have a brand new stage show for you. It's a modern revamp of the Shakespearean classic Hamlet. Fat Ham follows a young queer black man named Juicy, whose father visits from beyond the grave to demand Juicy avenge his murder. Check it out through March 24th and get your tickets at citytheatercompany.org. Use code CityCast, all one word, for $5 off. Okay, so Natalie, what about you? What big story or trend have you been following this week?
Well, there's a lot of things that I could that come to mind, Megan. But one of the ones that is getting a lot of attention around the state is the Family Care Act and the need for paid family leave. And this legislation is actually really getting some momentum here in the state of Pennsylvania. We're one of many states that do not have paid leave, and paid leave is actually money you receive from your employer, an insurer, or the government while you're away from work for an extended period of time due to something like long COVID, due to taking care of a family member or having a newborn. And paid leave is very different from paid time off or sick pay because it is an extended amount of time. It's not just a few days here or there.
Right. Yeah. CityCast, I mean, we're a startup company in media. So we didn't have one initially. There was no paid leave policy until I think they were close to 2 years at their 2-year anniversary. And there were 3 or 4 of us that were pregnant at the same time. And they were like, oh, we should figure this out. And they did.
Make something happen here.
Yeah, they did immediately. And I don't think anybody had to lobby for it. I think they just did it of their own accord. But it was still interesting to watch that roll out in real time because it wasn't until it was literally obvious to everyone that it was a necessity that our company made a change.
Well, and a lot of people don't realize that we don't have a statewide paid leave program. When I tell people this, they're like, well, yeah, everybody has paid leave. No,
actually, there's FMLA, and that's only applicable for companies over a certain size.
That's right.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. My understanding is that you would have to seek out this separate thing, FMLA, if there was, you had to care for someone medically or something like that.
And it doesn't guarantee your income.
No, there's no income qualifier for that. And 69% of employers here do not offer paid family and medical leave. And one of the stats that I find really interesting is that 78% of PA residents strongly favor a statewide family leave program. So this is not a right or left issue. This really is just a right or wrong issue. We need paid leave and we need it now.
Yeah. So you said that this is picking up momentum. How should it work? What is the proposal for this? What are other people having success with in other states? What is Pennsylvania working towards?
Yeah, so currently there is this legislation called the Family Care Act, which provides essential support for families caring for loved ones. And it does this by alleviating the financial burdens through offering paid family and medical leave supporting working caregivers, which helps promote economic stability, and it fosters a compassionate society. And right now you can take action by signing the support letter for familycareact.com. That's where you can go to check it out to endorse this piece of legislation. And you can also set up a meeting. There's a ton of coalitions across the state of Pennsylvania that are all advocating for this. It's got a huge groundswell right now, and you can set up a meeting with them through the website, and then they can share with you how to connect with your representatives as to why this would be good. And we're trying to get, it has a lot of bipartisan momentum right now, but we're trying really hard in particular to reach across the aisle to the Republicans and appeal to them on an economic basis, because more people are likely to go back to work if they have paid leave than if they don't. So this actually improves and enhances the workforce as opposed to people that have to leave the workforce and then can never find their way back in. So this just makes good economic sense. And it's good for businesses too, for small and large. it just makes sense. So we're trying to mimic what some other states have been able to accomplish. But eventually, I hope if we get enough states on board, we could again then take this to the federal level and make some magic happen then, because we are I think we're like the only industrialized nation in the world that doesn't have a paid leave program of some kind. It's embarrassing, you guys.
I'm just looking at a poll from Lake Research Partners. They're Democratic leaning from November of last year. It said 85% of voters in battleground states, which includes Pennsylvania, favor paid parental, family, and medical leave. It's 96% of Democrats, 82% of independents, and 76% of Republicans. This is pretty widespread among the folks they talk to.
Yeah, this is a workers' rights issue. Like, I feel like Pittsburgh should be the one like rallying for it. It has always been our story here. So I wouldn't be surprised if it really got a lot of attention here locally.
Well, especially leading up to the election.
Yeah.
Yeah. And one other interesting thing to note, when you have access to paid family leave, the chances of overdosing decrease as well.
Oh, wow.
There's a lot of issues that people don't think about related to the idea of if I can't take off work, what will happen? And sometimes suicidal ideation plays a big role in that as well, thinking about the lack of options when you're, dealing with a very serious issue. So I like this from just a morality issue standpoint, but it also, like I said, it's just good business too.
So last up, a frivolous but maybe necessary new addition to our transit options here in Pittsburgh.
Yes, I'm so excited to talk about this. If you haven't listened already, we do a monthly guide on the podcast where we share events and fun things coming up in the month ahead. But do you guys remember I brought up the Berg bus in our Guide to March episode?
Yeah, that black and gold thing that does the comedy.
Yeah. They do comedy. They've even done drag before. So they do tours of Pittsburgh. And they are doing the St. Patrick's Day brewery tour. Go back and listen to our March tips if you haven't already. But the folks behind this mobile entertainment venue / tour bus just announced that they're doing a shuttle to concerts all summer long at Star Lake.
I feel like that's really smart. Just because the parking has been such a historical and comedic mess down in Burgettstown, or I guess it's west of here.
I also think this is just a good thing environmentally too. Less cars, get on the bus instead.
Yeah, totally. Why not carpool? And also, if you've heard of the horror stories, people often sit there and let their car go and their gas tank drain. So
Star Lake is a wonderful venue, but it's dusty. If it has not rained recently or they've had a lot of shows in a row, so the grass can't regenerate, it can be really gross getting in and out of there.
Yes.
That's putting it mildly.
Yeah, for sure. So I got my group of friends to sign up for this. We're going to see NoahCon in May. And it picks you up at the bottom of the Duquesne Incline and takes you all the way there and brings you back home.
But how much does it cost?
Well, it's $45 per person.
That seems like a lot to me.
Come on. We just can't win.
I know.
I love this in concept, but what Pittsburgher do you know that is willing to pay an extra $45 on top of their concert ticket and whatever their beverage or food allotment is there to make it work? Nobody.
Ain't mathin', friends.
Apparently me.
That would be me.
I get people's reservations. I know.
And you have to pay for parking at Station Square if you're a driver. I'm just,
Well, okay. My idea here is park on the north side, take the T. That will help that. So I'm going to give it a try and I'll report back to see if it's worth it. My personal rationalization here is that just to not deal with the stress of getting stuck in that parking lot
you
for
could
hours.
still get stuck. You'll just be on a bus while you're there.
True, except it drops you off towards the front and also picks you up towards the front. So you do have to walk from the pavilion towards the front. So I think your chances of getting out earlier are better.
I don't know. It depends on what they mean by front. Like, because there's the main road that gets you
you're
into
really
it.
killing this for her. Just
I know. And I'm sorry. Look, I want you to have a great experience. I'm just saying for other people who are not locked in because they've already purchased their ticket, if they mean the main road, I agree, although that's a very long walk. If they mean like up by where, like the front of where you go in and like give someone your ticket, you could still very easily get stuck.
Yeah, I think it's towards the main road, like that front parking lot area, the drop-off area. You have a point. It's definitely not ideal. There really should be another road in and out of there. When my dad and I used to go to shows, like growing up, we'd leave early just to avoid it. Like it's the bottleneck.
You mean like leave the show early? Like they don't stay for the encore?
Yeah, it's totally a dad decision. But that is a choice you have to make if you want to miss that encore, what have you. And so, my thought here is at least you're not draining your own gas, just idling there. I mean, there have been times where we've sat there and like both me and my dad have fallen asleep in the car and there's like people honking behind.
I mean, I do think it's worth it for safety while drinking because, I mean, a lot of people go out to Star Lake and they have themselves a time. And if you're going to tie one on, like, you don't want to be behind the wheel of a car. So for that reason alone, I'm fully in favor of this. I just think there are some complications.
Please Instagram Live yourself doing this whole experience because I want to know how it actually goes. So I'll be watching.
Yeah. And I want to know, what do they have in the bus? Like, are there bevies? Are there like wet wipes? Like... Are they playing music? Are they setting a vibe? Like, I want to know.
That's a good question. I do like this because I'm going with a group of friends who I actually used to ride the school bus with. And this is a renovated school bus. So I think it's really sweet. Like, we can all just kind of have a good time. So I will report back, let you know how it works, if it's worth it. If not, I already put my money into it.
It's a grand experiment.
Yeah. Berg bus, I'll see you then. But yeah, we'll look forward to that.
Well, before we go, I want to know what is exciting yins for the next few days. Send our listeners into the weekend with a little bit of joy. Francesca, you want to kick us off?
Yeah, I want to go to this, but this is also a vegan find for you, Natalie. Sugar Spell Scoops in Sharpsburg is celebrating their 5th anniversary on Saturday and Sunday with the Chosen Crumb and Black Cat Pizza. If you listen to this podcast, I've said this before. I've been trying to get this pizza. This could finally be my time to snag it. So looking forward to that.
Okay, you definitely need to snag it because I've had Black Cat Pizza. They're vegan pizzas. They're incredible. They're always at Veg Fest, so I'm excited that they're doing this pop-up. So enjoy. And also, you might as well stream that live too. I want to see all these activities in real time. For myself, I will be at the Home and Garden Show recording KDKA Radio live on Saturday from 2 to 5. So if you're over at the Home and Garden Show, come and join me. I pre-recorded an amazing interview with Green Party's Jill Stein, and that will be airing on Saturday, I believe from 3 to 4 p.m. during my show. So I'm looking forward to everyone having a chance to hear what she's going to say. So you can check that out on 100.1 FM and AM 1020 KDKA or stream it kdkaradio.com.
I am going to be reading about our new quarterback, Russell Wilson. I was really excited that for a minute we had a football team with a little less baggage. And the baggage is back.
That's all you, Megan. You report back to us what you learned.
That's all for today here on CityCast Pittsburgh. Our music is by Benji. The show was produced this week by Mary Lee Williams, Sophia Lowe, Lizzie Goldsmith, Grant Irving, and Elizabeth Kama. Francesca Dabecco writes our newsletter, and I'm your host, Megan Harris. We'll be back on Monday with more news from around the city. Talk to you soon, everyone. I'm not telling anybody my trick for parking. But it's great and it works every time and I leave immediately. I love it.
Yeah. Well, you should tell me.
You don't drive.
Well,
your person does.
Yeah.
I'll tell Kent. You remind me. I'll tell Kent what it is.